We've been talking about parables for a while, and I think we've kind of had enough of vineyards, right? I want to take a break from vineyards because, well, Jean won't read anymore about vineyards. She's refused. So I thought we'd talk about Philippians 4, or what I call the Philippians 4 project. And if any of you are looking at this and inwardly groaning, thinking, oh great, here we go. You're going to tell me to think positive, and that's going to somehow change my life and fix things. But really all you're going to do is send me out of here feeling negatively about myself because I'm not able to think positive all the time. Because frankly, it's a lot harder to think positively than it sounds. Well, you can rest easy. I'm not going to do that. It is hard to think positively. How does Paul do it? If you, let me have one more, okay? This is thought to be the prison where both Paul and Peter were held. And Kate, if you give me one more. This is thought to be the cell where Paul and Peter were held. How does Paul do it? How do we do it? In times like this, it seems like everyone is against each other. Vile words and vile deeds are done to each other. Life seems capricious, angry, absurd, mean. How did Paul do it? This is probably Paul's last letter, if not one of his last letters. And he's chained to the floor. He's facing execution. And he tells the people in Philippi, rejoice. Be grateful. It seems kind of nonsensical, doesn't it? It does to me sometimes. I find it difficult to be joyful all the time. Frankly, I find it difficult not to worry. We have one more. I've worried about a great many things in my life, and one or two of them have actually come true. I love that. It is a battlefield of the mind, isn't it? I find when I'm awake, I usually deal with it a little bit better. If it's 10 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, does anyone else ever have this? Does anyone else have the 2 a.m. attack? Anybody? 4 a.m.? I think it was Napoleon Bonaparte who talked about the 2 a.m. attack and said, anybody, if you can master the 2 a.m. attack, you will have really made some progress. For me, the 2 a.m. attack is, I wake up, I can't fall back asleep, and I start thinking, really not that good of a person. Look what you've done to this. How could you live with yourself with this? You think this, but is it really true? Or the worry starts to set in. Oh gosh, I forgot to pay the this. Did I pay the this? Did I do this? Did I check in for my flight? We worry constantly. We worry constantly, or I say we worry constantly. I worry about loss. Things that I might lose. And where my mind goes, particularly in the 2 a.m. attack, I'll call it, it can really channel me into some bad places, and I don't think I'm alone. I have to shake myself out of it, and I usually go and I drink some milk, and that helps me go back to sleep. But during the day, this is an old proverb, and it's true. Where our mind goes, our character and our actions go. Our minds are incredibly powerful. This is an object lesson from Paul. Well, not this, but watch this. This is from the movie The Matrix. If you haven't seen The Matrix, I would recommend that you watch it.
Know what you're trying to do? I'm trying to free your mind, but I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it. Tank, load the jump program. You have to let it all go, you know.
What if he makes it?
We'll never make the first two.
I know. But what if he does?
He won't.
What does that mean?
It doesn't mean anything.
Free your mind. I think one of the reasons I showed this is because it's so pertinent to what we're talking about, but also I just love the movie The Matrix. There's so much Christian symbolism in that movie, all three of the movies in the trilogy. You have one more, Kate. This is a proverb, Proverb 23:7. And we think about Proverbs, what really are Proverbs? Proverbs are just things that things that seem to be true about us and who we are for thousands of years. And someone carefully wrote all these things down. Early to bed, early to rise makes a person healthy, wealthy, and wise. That's a proverb. And we sort of look at that and say, yeah, you know what, that's true. This stuff about as a person thinks, so they are, has been around for thousands of years. And the reason that it's been around for thousands of years is that it's true. One of the reasons I showed you the clip with Neo falling is because it does no good for a preacher to stand up and tell people, think positive about yourself and everything will be great. If you just think positive about yourself, you're going to make it to the other building. Well, no, you're not. It takes work. That's why I call this the Philippians 4 project. It takes work, and you don't have to feel guilty or bad about yourself if you work at it and work at it and work at it and you don't quite get there. Let me have one more. I'm going to do a little clinical pastoral education with you all, because I think it really stinks for someone to stand up like a preacher and say, think positive about yourself and your life's going to change. And then sit down and you walk out of here and say, well, gee, that's great, thanks a lot. You didn't give me one clue as to how to do that. One of our problems, I think, is that we tend to stratify everything, don't we? We stratify everything on a good-bad continuum. This is good. This is less good. That is bad. This person is pretty. That person is not so pretty. I'm somewhere in between that. This person is smart. That person is not very smart. We stratify everything. We judge everything and everybody. You know you do it. I do it. I work at it really hard. And you know what? When I catch myself doing it, I'm ashamed of myself. Because we cannot find the peace of Christ when we're constantly judging other people and negatively judging ourselves. The 2 a.m. attack that occurs at 2 p.m. What I would say is, one of the things that has helped me is this old notion of looking for the good in other people and walking a mile in someone's shoes. What's that? Yeah. Walk a mile in someone's shoes. I remember when I was at Georgetown, there was this woman who cleaned the bathrooms, and she cleaned the toilets, and she scrubbed the floors, and she was, oh gosh, she might have been 5 feet tall, she was Hispanic, and she had a really nasty disposition. Sorry, it sounds judgmental, but she did. People didn't like her, and she was kind of mean to people. She was very short, not in stature, but short, clipped speech, and she spoke Spanish mostly. And I remember I was on chaplain duty one Sunday, and the residents had this sort of cave way back behind the chapel, and I was just sort of sitting in the cave, and she came in to clean up. And I just said, I'm going to try to get to know this person. I was learning Spanish at the time, and I think I said something, ¿Cómo está usted? And she turned, and she was like, muy bien. And we had this rudimentary conversation in Spanish, because my Spanish was and still is pretty bad. But I started to get to know her a little bit as a person that day. And come to find out, She had immigrated from Guatemala with her mom and dad. Her dad was killed along the way. Her mother just recently died of cancer. Her sister had cancer and was living at home. She had 4 children, one of whom was autistic. She was working 3 jobs to save up money to put her children through college. She had a job at a Washington, D.C. PR firm that was a pretty darn good job. And you know what? Her boss was sexually harassing her to the point to where her hair was falling out and she couldn't survive. She went from a white-collar type job to cleaning the toilets in the hospital. I thought a lot different about her from that point on. I try, when I'm stratifying and judging people and judging things, I try to have a mechanism in my mind that says, stop, you're doing it. Stop, you're doing it. And I think about Sonia sometimes. And I wonder, who is that person? What have they been through? If I'm going into the M&W and I see someone and I go, wow, those shoes look stop. I wonder what's her story? What's she been through? What's brought her to the M&W in Parma, Idaho today looking like that? I talked last week about Mrs. Turpin in Flannery O'Connor's short story Revelation, and about how she looked at everyone's shoes and she said, well, those are white trash. Those are this, those are that. And you notice her lifetime, which stands that story for us, at the end, she's holding a hose, watering the pigs. And everyone is going into heaven, right? The battalion of freaks. And she's going into heaven too, but she's at the end. And it makes me think about that. If we live our life on that continuum of constantly judging her shoes, she's ugly, he's black, what's that? We're going to get into the kingdom of heaven, okay? But you know what? We're going to be miserable going there, and we will not find the peace of Christ. And again, Neo fell from the top of the building. I got it. It's not easy. We have one more. The second thing I would say is we need to learn to laugh at ourselves. Like belly laugh at ourselves. I've gotten a little bit better over this, about this over the years. But I think if we are able to laugh at ourselves, we can acknowledge we're not perfect either. Someone may be looking at us and making a judgment about us. What's my next? Yeah, I was going to tell you the washing machine story. But I'm not going to tell you the washing machine story because it's a little long and because it's really pretty good. And if I tell all my stories when we're at post-COVID, I'll have nothing to say. But it's good. But one tied into the washing machine story. When I was in Afghanistan and I met Marta, I got, I'm not proud to say this, but I thought I was kind of a big deal. I was the intelligence community commandant. I had 5,000 people working for me. We were doing 3,000 intel missions a day. I had my own airplane with 35 seats. I thought I was pretty cool. And then I got back to Washington, D.C., and I found that after Afghanistan, I didn't really fit in to the Washington, D.C. intelligence culture. I just didn't fit in. I didn't like it. I didn't like the people. I didn't like it. And I retired. And I married this chaplain, and we moved into this crummy little house on this army base. And Marta said, you know what, Charlie, you have worked. Well, your daddy made you go to work when you were 10 years old in the steel mill. And ever since then, you've been working. Why don't you just take a break? Do some discernment as you get ready to go to seminary. And I thought, yeah, that sounds pretty good. And after about 30 minutes of making her lunches to go out the door and washing clothes, which did not work out well, one day I'm in the grocery store in Texas. There's this grocery store chain called H-E-B, named after Henry B. Butts, I think. So I'm in H-E-B and I'm grumbling, griping. I'm an important person. Damn it. Here I am. Hey, honey, how you doing? What do you want? What are we having for dinner? I said, you know what? It is not my mission in life to buy salmon at H-E-B to cook dinner for you. I talked with Marta this morning. We FaceTime. We talked about each other's sermons. And we started laughing like crazy about that. I can laugh at myself now, but as I look at it, what was going on? If I could clinical pastoral education this, I was afraid. I was angry. I was afraid. I had just lost my identity, which was the United States Navy and the intelligence community. And I was in some podunk town called Coppers Cove, Texas, looking for Activia yogurt. And I was angry. I look at it now and I laugh at myself. I'm not able to do this all the time. I get wrapped up in things and I think things are super important and I get insulted or I get angry or I get defensive. As long as I do that, I will never find the peace of Christ. And I guarantee you, you won't either. Those are the two things I would say. Walking a mile in someone else's shoes and learning to laugh at ourselves. Folks, this is at the heart of our Christian faith and presumably why we're here this morning. We're here to learn more about God and we're here to try to find out how do we find this peace that surpasses all knowledge. And you know what? It takes work. And it means we're going to jump off of that building a whole lot of times and we're going to hit the pavement as we try. But it's at the heart of our journey. It's absolutely necessary. Let me have one more. I don't know who Swami Vivekananda is, but I like what he says. Let me have one more. I'm going to go get them because I forgot them in my van. I went to Staples yesterday and I printed a whole lot of these out and I cut them into pieces so they're about this big. And I'm going to run out there and I'm going to put them in the back. I would encourage you, if you feel like it, take this and magnet whatever on your fridge or put it in your pocket. This is what we're here for, folks. It's what I struggle with. It's probably what you struggle with. But this is what we're here to do, and it is. It's hard work. Like the Cherokee proverb. We all have a decision. Which wolf are we going to feed? If we're going to find the peace of Christ, we've got to feed that wolf that's love, non-judgment, compassion, and empathy for ourselves